if someone wants to be in one field, I feel that then they should look into not just thinking about bachelor's degree, not even be limited to a master's degree. They should try to do a PhD, right? Because AI is not going to be able to create original research, like novel stuff. Because just some people say AI is going to become super intelligent and super intelligence is going to come, it's going to create some physics and new math. I'm not in that camp.
In an age where artificial intelligence is reshaping careers, classrooms, and entire industries, navigating the future can feel both exciting and uncertain. This episode of HigherEd Horizon distills the noise into clarity, offering a practical survival guide for students, professionals, and lifelong learners alike. Tune in as we explore how to stay relevant, resilient, and ahead in an AI driven world. What do you think
I
is the
think
scene at the moment, especially in
in
India?
India,
Yeah.
I feel that the impact of AI has been very limited in India. The impact has been mostly uh, in companies which are international, which are like multinational companies. And a multinational company, say someone like Oracle, has decided to trim down their workforce because of AI. Say Box.com, right? What is it? No, Block.com, right? Block, Jack Dorsey's company. They decided to trim down their workforce. So that could have caused a worldwide termination of people in certain roles. And some of those terminations would have happened in India. Those are highly skilled, relatively lot more qualified, lot more capable people from around the world, including India. It's a very small number, even though it may come across as tens of thousands or thousands of people getting laid off. But this is a very small number, and this is the best of the best, the cream on the top, right? Those have gotten impacted. But general, like mass employers, the employment hasn't really. It's not because of the AI where unemployment has happened. However, maybe employment of new people may not have happened. Say, if there were projects across the world that Infosys was supporting, right? Or Wipro was supporting, or Tech Mahindra was supporting projects all around the world. And there would be a need for a certain number of people to support those projects. But now those projects may not need that many people. Onboarding of that many new people may not be happening in India. So that could be an impact because of AI. But that's not a layoff impact. That's a onboarding of new people is not happening at the same rate as it has happened in the past before AI. However, this is also true that whatever positions or many of the positions that are getting terminated in the West, especially in the US, and many times it has been found out the same position that got terminated in the US, exact same position with same job responsibilities from the same company, exact same position gets opened in India. So on one side, it's getting terminated in the US, on the other side, it's getting opened in India. So there's a large number of people that are getting terminated in India. Relatively small number of similar openings are getting opened in India. I think our understanding is that companies are realizing that they're terminating a complete role. But at the same time, they are apprehensive whether terminating every single person in that role is a good idea or not. So they want to have some kind of a security blanket, right? So for that purpose, they are hiring people in India where the cost of hiring an employee is a lot lower than in the US. And they are hiring a small, way smaller number in India. And that too, one, it's way smaller number, and two, it is fraction of the cost it would have cost them in India. Considering the original layoff was because of AI creating those efficiencies where the role may not have been required, it is quite likely that in a couple of years, once they realize that AI can do that role end to end or mostly end to end, it is quite possible that the people that got hired in India could also be terminated later on. So it is creating a short-term job opportunity in places like India for roles that are getting terminated abroad. So the impact is not as profound in India for these AI terminations as it is in the West.
Yeah. A few things that are adding, I think, to the situation, at least what I noticed was overall, I think students who are looking to go abroad for their masters seems to be going down, or it has been at least lower than before, which means more competition for the positions that are in India itself. At the same time, like Vishal said, that through at least some personal conversations with people who have companies in the US, and there seems to be a certain trend where they're looking towards India to augment that, AI vacuum that might be created in certain areas where they lay off people. Um, and at the same time, there seem to be more recognition of the capability of people in India in terms of in the last few years how the quality of their work may have also reached the standards that they are looking for.
Because the quality is also getting improved because of AI. Indians have been traditionally known for using new tools. The amount of the pace at which Indians are able to pick up new tools to get themselves more efficient and more productive, it's incredible. Like how quickly they pick up tools. They may not have picked up deep programming skills at the same rate because that needs years and years of preparation, training, practice, good coaching, good teaching, which is not by and large available in India. In India, schools are not providing as good a coaching as good a teaching as they should have. But when it comes to using a tool which quickly will make you augment your inadequacies, Indians are really good at it. So considering now that AI has come about and it is able to write good code as long as you give it a good prompt, the writing of the good prompt, Indian techies have picked up quite well. But then writing of the good code, which would have taken years of training and practice, that you get because of the good prompt now, right? So the quality difference between tech professionals in India and in other countries has completely eroded, because now you can get a similar quality or even great quality code from Indian developers as well. So that is another reason why outsourcing to India and having satisfaction with that outsourced work has actually increased since AI has come about. If somebody is more satisfied with the work that they have outsourced, you're more likely to get repeat orders from the same people.
Yeah. Another thing that seems to be contributing a little bit is I think there is probably lesser um, probably fear or uncertainty on the students who are just graduating, and there is a little more worry in people who are probably 10 years into their career, because they would have sort of lost touch with those hands-on tools and would have been working at a management level where this now can be condensed into fewer people managing the whole thing. So then they have to, I think, make a plan for the next half of their career and how they were going to cope with these changes.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because if you notice that Jack Dorsey, who usually has been like a torchbearer of saying it out loud just the way it is, right? Because when he says something and then everybody else follows, because no one wants to be that bad guy of who's providing the real information, right? Because so if you notice that all these thought leaders and tech executives were saying, oh, some jobs are going to be gone, but some other jobs are going to take their place. So there's not going to be any job problems, right? Right? And there's not going to be, oh, mass layoffs because of AI. The layoffs are because of other efficiencies that we are doing because of reorganization. So that's what the typical spiel was. But Jack Dorsey was the only first person to do mass layoffs and say, this is because of AI efficiencies, and this is because we have AI now. That's why we are doing it. So Jack Dorsey has also come up with a memo, I think, in the last couple of days, a memo write up, whatever you want to call it. I don't know what the real exact term is, where he has mentioned that the structure of the office is now going to change. And he has said, you needed mid management so that whatever was the whatever was the say vision or a plan of the management, the mid management used to disseminate that plan. They would convey that plan to the rest of the employees in the through the junior managers, like junior people. So considering now that there is AI, there may not be the need for having that intermediary in between. So from the way it is being described, it is likely that there will be more pressure on jobs which are in the mid management tier. So people who are actually doing doing the work, they may not be as much at risk as the mid management people are. And also when people get to mid management, they lose touch with the technical, ability, and then they are more into management and communication and all of that, but there may not be a need for that many. If you see in the US also, many of the roles that are gotten impacted are product management roles, project management roles. I know a lot of people who are in these roles who are laid off and who are actively seeking employment on LinkedIn. I mean, these are people I have worked with in the past, and most of these people who I see desperately seeking employment in on LinkedIn, among my network of people that I know, most of them were either project managers or product managers, right? So now that AI has made things so simpler, I think the expectation from the developer is that they will also be the product manager to some extent, and they will also be the project manager, manage their projects independently on their own without having somebody to manage it for them. I think the role is morphing into more like, a holistic builder where you take care of all aspects of building.
Realistically, how long do you think AI will take to fully absorb the role, like say project manager? And obviously, if project manager roles are going out in the West, then that means there are more project management roles maybe opening up in India also. Correct?
Possibly, if they realize that it is a lot cheaper to have someone who can manage the schedule, manage the project plan in India, augmented by AI, so that difference of quality that was there between someone in the West and someone in somewhere else in the world. So augment the differences, but still have that sense of accountability to a person. That would actually be the best blend. I would choose that over having just the AI. Right? If you have a machine telling you get something done, we have a customer deadline coming up, what is the update, you're likely going to ignore that pop-up and say, okay, bye bye, okay, I don't want it, right? Just close the window. But if you have some person, it's like Yamini asking me, Vishal, what's the update? We have someone who's asking for it, or we are answerable to the customer, then that human accountability is not a it's not a technical terms, cannot be explained, right? Objective terms, it cannot be explained. It is very, very subjective, right? It's an emotion, it's a human psychology related matter, right? So for that human psychology, you would need a person, but now to manage it in a very methodic, step by step way, identifying what are the critical path items, what are the things that we need to focus on, that could be augmented by AI. And now you have someone who's a very highly capable project manager, which is helped with by AI, but you still have a person. And now if you are a worldwide company, you would want that person to be, okay, where can I pay the least? And Asian countries are still relatively cheaper, well, to hire a resource than the West. And it's what you said is perfectly, you know,
Actually, I do have a
likely to
friend
happen.
who is going through the same process because they are also working at a company and they are actually interviewing for another company. And that company also has offices in the US and they laid off 5 people and now they're hiring 1 people in the India office. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's how it
Because
goes. But
one
then
person
again,
can do five people's job because it will be
yeah,
helped by AI, right?
yeah. And it's again
Yeah,
a project management role with AI capabilities. Yeah.
correct,
So,
correct. It's quite likely to happen. This may happen to a lot of such roles. Lot of such roles where it felt like someone being very organized is helpful, but those organization skills were not um, typically found in resources that were outsourced or abroad. But now that can be addressed by AI, but you still have that human accountability.
but again, here,
So what makes it? So what becomes an important aspect to find a job then? Just in India, it has always been someone who speaks quite well, or especially someone who speaks English well. They have a lot more opportunity than anyone else. Even super technical people don't get as much opportunity as someone who speaks English well in India, right? So that still holds.
but I
Yeah.
think somewhere, so for a project management role, I would imagine that you would need some kind of experience. You can't just get a project management role as a fresher, right? Or as a graduate. This could be an opportunity for
With
people
good
who have a little bit of
training, you
experience.
can. Yeah.
Okay.
With good training, you might be able to do it because project management is not that hard, especially if you're going to have to follow a plan that's been already generated and managed and priorities identified. So it's a matter of training them well in the first couple of weeks or a month, and they should be able to take it up. Project management is not very complicated, right?
Yes.
Product management is relatively more complicated because you need that product sense. You need that understanding of what the product is, what the customer is looking for. You need that understanding of what the customer is looking for may not actually be the right product to give them, because the workflow they are thinking about is a lot more complex than what it needs to be. So understanding of business on the customer side, understanding of the right workflow that will work better for the customer, even better than the workflow that the customer might be used to, that needs a lot of industry knowledge and experience in the industry, and experience being this uh, person who can break down workflows and then communicate to developers in a way where it can become a meaning, can be an actionable set of how do you put it, actionable design document or a product document which the developers could work on, or they could use AI to work on it. So product management is a lot more complex role than project management that way.
Um, I do also have another question. Maybe what I've been seeing online, especially with the Gen Z people and the people that are freshly graduating right now, there's this sentiment about how even after doing a 3 or 4 year degree, there is no, what do you say, assurance of a job, because most entry level jobs are being taken by AI, mostly in tech space, not any other space. So, what do you think is an actionable step that students, freshers can do here to basically, even if they don't get a job, maybe can get an internship somewhere, which can lead them to them having a great experience for something else in the line?
I mean, first of all, if someone is a good communicator and they find it interesting to be a salesperson, I would, anybody who likes to talk and likes to build relationships with people, thinks that they can be a good salesperson, they should not discount being a salesperson, because somehow in India there's this aversion of being a sales guy. Some people think of it as if it's a lower end job than getting a technical job. People need to realize that salespeople become all the way to CEOs. It's not that salespeople are not important in the company. In fact, they are the ones who bring in business, and if they are not there, no one else will have a job. No one else can be paid. So sales is an integral and incredibly important part of any company, and salespeople are highly valued in any company. Good salespeople are highly valued. So if you have the ability to do well as a salesperson, irrespective of whatever you might have studied, MBA, engineering, what have you, then just don't discount that role. Don't say, oh, this is not something I want to do. It can be a very lucrative career, and it will be something that will not be impacted by AI. In fact, there will be more salespeople roles with AI. I'll tell you why. When you have AI, you're going to be able to produce more. That means if the company was able to create 5 products in a year, the same company can create probably 15 or even more products per year. Now you have more products to sell. When you have more products to sell, they're not going to sell on their own. They need salespeople to sell it. They need marketing people to sell it. So this sales and marketing becomes even more important because now you have more to sell. And those roles cannot be taken. Those roles will be augmented by AI, because if you have more to sell, you use all kinds of tricks in AI to create really, you know, interesting marketing campaigns. You'll figure out approaches to reach out to customers using automation, like Claudebot and OpenClaw and or other, whatever. But that doesn't mean that just because somebody is using OpenClaw, now you don't need as many sales guys, because we need to realize that there is so much more software being created than what it was being created in the past. There's so much more hardware being created than what was created in the past, right? Because there's so much more to sell. So sales and marketing is always going to be something where there's going to be a lot of demand, and it will be harder to sell, and the people who do well in that role will become they'll be more important in the company than anybody else. So in the past, very very smart tech people would become important because they would be able to create something that no one else was able to create. that intelligence is for the most part now available, right? With advanced AI models and all of that. So who becomes even more important now in the company? The salespeople are going to become even more important. That's how it used to be in the past. Before tech came about, the salespeople were very important. If you look at old car companies, even though there was engineering then, usually the senior management in the car companies used to be salespeople. Their career used to be the salespeople, and then they would become VPs, CEOs, and so forth. Right? And then came the time of the techie geeky people, because they were the ones who created something original and novel, and they became the founders and many times became the CEOs. But now I think we will move back towards an era where salespeople will be the ones who will have more clout in the company than anyone.
Yeah, because I think it seems like in the end, what would validate the choices of a company during this time where their AI usage is, getting incorporated, is in the end when it reflects in their balance sheets and their profits, which in the end can only be driven by those salespeople. So that I think is definitely something that's likely to happen.
Say both sales and marketing, right? Who is the most valued person even in the US right now? I mean, one of the who are getting paid, like irrespective of whether they went to college, whether they have experience or not, right? In consumer sales, it is already the person who can create viral TikTok reels and generate sales from it. Such people are paid in 400,000, half a million, because if they are generating, you know, 10, 20 million worth of business, the employer is not going to hesitate paying them half a million or even a million, right? It's all about, you're paying small fraction to the person who's generating the sale, right? So marketers who are these good influencers who are able to generate sales from social media are the ones who are very highly valued now, and they're going to be even more valued in the future.
Can you give me one career that you think will be most impacted by AI, the first one to go, and one career which will take some time? Like obviously you've already mentioned marketing or creative careers like that, but if you can think of something else.
I mean, there is a time, most of the things that where we need people at the moment, most of them will be impacted to some extent or the other. It is just the timeline of when it is going to happen. Some things are going to happen sooner, some are going to happen later, right? So if you look at that anthropic diagram, right, let's take a look at it, where they said which ones are going to be the most impacted. So the diagram actually lays it out quite well, which are most likely going to be impacted, right, sooner than later. Wherever
You
you see
mean
the
to
green
say,
shaded area, for
yeah, this
yeah,
diagram,
yeah,
right?
wherever you see the blue shaded area, right, it has a blue shaded area.
Yeah.
Wherever you see the blue shaded area closer to the edge, that means it is like the going to be the most impacted sooner, right? So it says management is going to be, like I said, the Jack Dorsey's memo already says that the mid management may no longer be needed, or may not be needed at the same rate as what they are needed at the moment. If somebody's in mid management and their role is to just keep people organized and on task, not sure how many of them will be needed. And like we discussed earlier, if we need someone to just keep people on task, maybe a lower cost resource could replace them for accountability to a human augmented by AI, right? Then computer science is another area where you don't need as many programmers, because lots of coding is being done by AI, right? But we have also talked about companies who were not thinking about having a computer science department or a tech department to build software. They will likely be building software. So we don't know yet whether it's going to be a net plus for jobs or a net negative for jobs. But if you look at the job openings in the US for tech roles, it's actually the same as what used to be before AI came about. So there are a lot of jobs, but there are lots of people getting laid off also. Um, but this could be, I think some people say this could be the trend that's attributing to lots of open jobs. But at the same time, high paying jobs are getting lost. Low paying jobs are the ones that are opening up. People are getting laid off with $300,000, $400,000 salary jobs from big companies, where these companies who are thinking of getting a getting a tech person to make a unique workflow software for them, they're not going to be paying that much. There's going to be maybe 50,000, 60,000, $80,000 out, right? So it's a small order of magnitude less in pay, whereas high paying job is going away. But then there it does also mention architecture and engineering. So a lot of the architecture that we do, we could enter the dimensions of the room, dimensions of the house, or if we have blueprints of the house, we could just upload them, and we could say, design it for me and put the furniture in the right places. This is the kind of layout I like. I like modern, clean design, right? And it could give you many options, and you can just pick and choose the right option. So now the architect that used to charge large sums of money, and it used to take him or her weeks to work on it, this work gets done in 10 minutes. And there
Less than 10
people are
minutes,
a
yeah.
lot less likely to go to an architect because they'll be able to do
Yeah.
it themselves, right?
I also know
Somebody
that.
recently created, you also did that, right? Somebody recently open sourced an engineering program where you can enter the dimensions of your roof that you're laying your roof. It will give you exact details about how you need to set up that roof, right? What's the uh, how you need to put steel, what kind of cement to use, and blah blah blah, right? Somebody else made an open source I think open source, I believe, program where it will tell you, using the local resources that are available in your area, how can you build building materials, right? So now these things are happening. These are going to make things a lot simpler. So if a lot of the legal work I used to go repeatedly to my attorney for, because I would need to have a quick question and I did not know in legal terms what were the ramifications of what I was doing. And I was paying hundreds of dollars to him per hour, and they would charge by the minute, right? Sometimes $800, $900 an hour. Now I ask most of those questions to ChatGPT. I double check it with Claude, and I'm confident that it's as good an answer as the lawyer would have given me. So I don't go to the lawyer as often as I used to go before. So that's why the legal is there, right? So there are many of them which are going to be impacted soon, but there are many which will take time to get impacted. It says production is not going, according to its graph, the production is not going to be impacted. It says transportation is not going to be impacted. That's not true though, right? Autonomous vehicles are around the corner. They may not be here yet, but once they come, most of the driving jobs are going to go away, at least in the West, and then maybe sometime in the East as well. As far as I remember correctly, around 11% of world's population is involved in driving, like some kind of a driving related job, transportation related job. If that goes away, that's going to be one of the largest employers in the world. That's going to create a huge unemployment among those people who have been driving all their lives, right? So transportation is also going to be impacted, but that's not part of this graph that they created by the one that was created by OpenAI. Then it also talks about construction is not going to be impacted. Actually, construction is going to be impacted too, right? If you look at some of the hardware that's coming out of China, you will see them masonry work being done by robots, which are currently not fully AI driven, but they are kind of like automated. But imagine the same ones being controlled by AI, where those things that cannot be um, condition coded, the AI figures out what it has to do. Tile laying is a similar thing, right? You could make a tile laying robot where tiles are added like a cassette, and it could just measure them perfectly and lay them in a sequential order, one after other, with perfect accuracy, right? Even more accurate than a human, because it will be laser guided. So almost everything a human does, at some point or the other, the human AI is going to do it. But then it's about how many humans would you need to be along with the AI. There will still be a need for some humans, will be a small number compared to it is today. Right? It's just that some impacts are going to come sooner than later. Even the kitchen, I was cooking in the kitchen. There will come a time when AI robots will learn from YouTube videos, and they will be able to cook better than any one of us. And then would you have someone make something like a human make something, or would you like have AI make it, because the AI is making it consistently always good quality than a human does? and it's always ready on time, and the AI is robot is happy to make it, right? So I mean, there could be like in art. I mean, I think about it. We get these machine-made rugs, right? And machine-made rugs are really cheap. They're made in Amritsar and all that. Many of the Kashmiri rugs that are there, similar to those, they make them in Amritsar in machines. But there is also a demand for handmade rugs that are made in Kashmir or in Iran, right? For that matter. Why do people pay order of magnitude higher amount, lakhs of rupees for Kashmiri made handmade rugs? Because it is that handmade art some people value, right? Those imperfections that you see in the khadi, right, or in the handmade rug, that imperfections become valuable. They'll be like, okay, it's handmade, right? People are willing to pay way more for it than it was if it was made in a machine, which was completely perfect. So I think that same thing will come to many of the roles where things start getting perfect when chef made, handmade food might become like novelty that people will go eat, right? Whereas the machine made may people may get bored with it. Correct, correct, correct. So that will also be there. So if somebody has skill, even though that skill is getting automated, that skill will still be valued. Look at paintings, right? There are so many printed paintings. We pay them, we don't even buy them for $5. But if it's a handmade painting, people are willing to pay hundreds of dollars for it. Because as soon as someone enters your house, they will immediately know if it's a handmade or if it's a machine made. And people are, it's not a, it's okay, it's okay to see a machine made painting. But if it's a handmade, everybody's intrigued. They will go closer to it. They will look at it from multiple angles. So they will look at the imperfections, right? I have a painting in my house. It has, as if the painter, when I was painting, they probably used too watery paint, right? It has things have dripped. The color has dripped, but people don't. It doesn't bother people. It just makes it original. Anyone who appreciates art, they come to my house and they keep looking at this painting. They're like, okay, yeah, what is it? It's very colorful. Then they walk, look at it from a distance. Then say, oh, at a distance, it looks like a butterfly. It's a butterfly. When they get closer, it doesn't look like a butterfly. but if the machine had made exactly the same thing, no one would have been impressed. Right? The one behind me is made by a machine. It's not handmade. Nobody comes to look at it. Nobody comes even close to it. Right? In my house, when some people come, they never stand by this
No,
But I
painting
think
to
that
look at it.
they're in these.
I think
So one of the
I
things that I
cannot
was
hear.
thinking was that as such, there are certain opportunities for people who are able to quickly utilize the benefit that AI gives them in some newer areas. Like we see how prevalent AI is now in software, but I'm also seeing increasingly, even in hardware, where people just for like layout of a PCB, I see people just dragging connections without really worrying about it, and then the AI sort of places it and routes it with required spacing, and it gives you a
Yeah,
lot more iteration that you can do in compared to what traditionally would have been the case. It would have taken hours of manually, identifying the right spaces between these connections and stuff, and now it's able to take care of it. So people, if they adapt to certain these powers that the AI gives them, they may be at the forefront of the change as it comes.
sure. Yeah, and India has been very good at adapting to tools. Any tool that makes you faster, quicker, more efficient. Indians have naturally, I don't know, for some reason, they have been very quick at adopting these tools.
what you were
Yeah,
saying,
even
Vishal,
going
before.
back to yeah, what I was saying before, that art, if
Yeah.
you have art, it's always going to be. So like Suchin's example, like he's a guitarist. He plays guitar. You can create guitar music on computer using AI. But who's going to go to a show to listen to a AI generated music? Nobody's going to go to a show, right? But millions of people are ready to go to shows every single month, when as long as there's a human playing it. And I'm sure the human also makes mistakes when they play, but they're still okay with the human. They don't want an AI to play it. Right.
So yeah, what I was saying, I've seen like in in the recent years, I've seen this trend where I think it's because of social media that people of our generation, mostly millennials, they are doing these like community driven initiatives where it will be like a run club, or it can be a coffee club or a pottery club or anything. It's basically the idea is for a group bunch of people to meet up and like have experiences outside of their phone. When you were speaking about these, how somewhere along the line in the future AI will somewhere take some of the roles, I was actually thinking about it that maybe if we do reach that point where we inevitably in every single sector there is AI and there are less and less humans, I think this can be an opportunity where people will just possibly meet only to have some kind of human interaction one, and then community driven initiatives will definitely grow. And also I saw this other content where basically he was an AI engineer, and he was talking about how he made millions of dollars working in the US, and then he quit his job and now he's working on his own farm. He bought a farm and he's like growing there every vegetable, everything, and he's like yeah, this is the life that's going to be right now rather than working working behind a computer. So yeah.
You're thinking along the exact right terms, because as people become more efficient with AI, they will have more time available. When people have more time available, they would want to do more things where they can do it as a community, as a group, together with others, right?
Mhm.
So these opportunities that you can create for people to come together, they will become more and more popular.
Yeah.
Even now in India, I have a relative who runs like he takes people to mountains, like basically mountain trekking, where they set up tents, they make them stay, they have the cooks go with them, they cook for them, they take them to a different place, they do a multi-day trips, and his
Yeah.
business is thriving. They're growing like crazy, right? So
Yeah.
if you can create such opportunity for people to come together and do interesting things, that is going to be a big business and big opportunity, right? Because that is not AI. That's where you are trying to get away from AI. This is a place where you're trying to get away from AI and meet real people. So how can that be impacted by AI when it is meant to get you away from AI, right?
Yeah.
Same thing, many people coming together and cooking together and eating together, right? So that is also a community clubs that people are setting up where many people come together, they cook together, and then they eat together, right? I mean, you people have to think about these ideas where these experiences are managed and organized. So that way, restaurants also will never go out of business. Restaurants are going to thrive, right? So if somebody creates a nice coffee shop, nice restaurant, that's also another area where AI is not going to take over. People are not going to be willing to pay top dollar for a machine made latte, even though that machine made latte would be the same as good as the someone who made it by hand. They would pay $10 to someone who made it by hand, really good, you know latte, compared to $1 maximum, maybe, for if it was made by a machine. Right? So that's another area, right? So there are many places where the jobs are not going to go away, but there are some areas where they will. So people will shift from one to other.
But then, how do you, maybe I don't know, how would you look at how someone would, like in the past you would have a plan, right? You would have that, okay, you finish a
Yeah.
degree, then you work at a company 5 years, then you look at a slightly more stable stage, and then you work towards the last part of your career. But that sort of plan seems to have been shaken up a bit.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a way to look at it or think about it for people who are planning in that
I
stage
think
right
flexibility is the first thing every kid should think about right now, right? You should be willing to be flexible and see what is up and coming, and what do I do in the next 5 years. And that is not it's not that, okay, whatever I have done in the next 5 years, if that thing doesn't stay relevant in 5 years, that's the end of my career, and what do I do? before that thing goes away, you think about what's up and coming next, and let me get ready for that. So someone who's flexible and is willing to pivot is not going to have an issue, because the person willing to pivot will be a pioneer, like will have the first mover advantage in whatever next is going to be coming up, because they'll be willing to take it up as soon as it comes, right? Look at this blog writing using AI. Someone who just started with it right away, they're the ones who gained the customers on Fiverr and all of that, right? Fiverr or other outsourcing
Yeah.
platforms. Because if somebody was charging $100 to write a blog, this is, I will write it for $20 and I will use AI for it, right? And they were the pioneers to do it. They'd already gained the customer base, they already got reviews, and now they are the ones who are they are the only ones getting business. Somebody made logos using AI, because as soon as AI came about, they undercut everybody. Everybody must have been charging, say, $30, $40 for a logo. This person says, I'm going to charge you $4, $5 for a logo, and created pretty good logos because they are using AI. They're not spending as much time. And now you have prior clientele. Now you have reviews, and now you're the only ones getting the sale, because everyone else, there's so many others in the market right now, right? So many options. So someone who is willing to pivot and get into something new, will have no issues, right? I think we talked about earlier one skill, that someone who is good communicator, not going to have any issues. We also talked about someone who's willing to get into sales is not going to have any issues, right? What else did we talk about? We also talked about
Flexibility.
willing to pivot. Flexibility is not going to have any issues.
Sujin, what do you think? What would be your advice to someone for your same question?
Yeah, I think the approach what Vishal mentioned makes sense. I think you can't compartmentalize yourself anymore. Like, I just like software, or I just like this. So you have to be ready to keep acquiring more knowledge. Another thing that I increasingly feel is that when I look at and I'm interviewing someone, I expect more depth if they are expressing some sort of an opinion or some sort of information, because so much information is available. Somebody, if they are expressing it as their opinion, I would have expected that they would have depth to that knowledge or depth to that claim that they're putting out. So yeah, like, I think to be ready to pivot, be ready to acquire new skills, new information constantly, and then keep improving yourself, I think is critical.
If someone wants to be in one field, I feel that then they should look into not just thinking about bachelor's degree, not even be limited to a master's degree. They should try to do a PhD, right? Because AI is not going to be able to create original research, like novel stuff. Because just some people say AI is going to become super intelligent, and super intelligence is going to come. It's going to create some new physics and new math. I'm not in that camp. It will create new patterns that we may not have identified, but it's not going to create something completely original, because it's going to create something from what it has already learned. And something original is not something that is learned, right? It hasn't gotten to know that. So AI is going to get smarter by the research of humans who are going to go into that depth that Suchin was talking about. And that depth usually happens when you do research and postdoctoral research in a particular field. So whether it is physics, whether it's chemistry, whether it is biotechnology, or any field, there will be researchers who will continue to do research. So if someone wants to stay in that field, their field only, what they have studied in the bachelor's degree, and all their career, that's all they want to do, my recommendation is that they should think about pursuing their education all the way to their PhD.
Yeah, and I think, like, as I came across an article where somebody, I think a PhD professor, sort of used AI for the first time to come up with something that they could publish. And like you said, it's about it being able to discover patterns which would have taken otherwise probably a TA and him together like a year or two to sit and go through and map out. He was able to get through it within a few months. So I think for some time there's going to be this space that people can capture by developing those newer patterns due to the use of AI in fraction of a time which may have taken in the past, even in the
And
research space.
asking the right questions to figure those patterns out will also need PhD level skills to identify new research in mathematics or some other field like that, right? Terence Tao says there's a lot of new research that's going to come out in math. But in order to come up with that research, you need to already be that capable in math to ask the right questions to AI, give the right tasks to AI. So the real most of the research is going to come from people who are already PhDs or kind of at that level.
Is there going to be an impact in biology or medical science because of AI?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. Um, some people say that the whole medical science is going to be revamped, or it's going to be a completely new world in the medical science field. Because currently, whatever medicines we take, there are common medicines for everybody, right? Including for diseases like cancer, where everybody's cancer is different, but there are certain medications that they give to almost everyone depending on where the cancer is located. But everybody's cancer is different. So there is um, uh, area of medicine called personalized medicine, where proteins could be created to target a particular type of a cancer for that particular person by reading their genetic code and all of that, right? But that is because of AI, because of current era we are in. It takes a lot of time. It's really expensive. It is expected this computational biology is going to make things very, very simple, cheap, and easy. When computational biology becomes more and more advanced, it's going to lead to a lot more personalized medicine. And when we get to personalized medicine, then there will be lots of diseases. The medicine will be custom made for each person, right? And this medicine is not going to um, carpet bomb and randomly target or many different kinds of cells. It's going to target only what the intended target is. So it's going to be a lot less side effects also. So the computational biology is going to be a transformative in the future. So those people who are going to get into biotechnology, particularly in this area of computational biology, they are also going to have a very, very good career.
Are there any companies that you know are already thriving in this space that we should look out for?
Yeah, there are lots of biotechnology companies. In fact, India is a very big into biotechnology. India is one of the top countries in the world where biotechnology has progressed far further along than any other, many other countries in the world. But this computational biology is a new field altogether. There's a lot of research happening. So, but it is quite likely that the already existing biotech companies will adopt these newer technologies, right? So, whoever is currently creating biotech stuff in India will likely create custom personalized medications also in India. Right? There are lots of, I don't want to name companies. India is very well known for biotech firms.
Thank you so much for your time today, Vishal and Suchin. This is HigherEd Horizon powered by College.dev. We will see you in the next episode.